Every time I start, that train goes off. How y'all doing? I'm Chris Egnoto, and I have an awesome story to share. So last night I did a campfire program on spiders. People showed up. I talked for a while, a lot of cool stuff, and then we hit the woods to find spiders, and there were all sorts of spiders to look at. It was a great blast. No pun intended. So, at around 9:30, everybody left, and two good friends of mine, Chris and Dave, stayed behind. We hung out around the campfire and practiced making fire with flint and all that kind of stuff. So at one point, Chris and I are talking, and I just see his face, his mouth drop open, and he's looking over my shoulder. There was a white flash behind me. About 4 seconds later, the loudest booming bang just resonated. There was an explosion. It shook the ground. Okay? Now, that was about 4 seconds later. It takes sound about 5 seconds to travel 1 mile, right? So we could tell what direction it came from and everything. And all sorts of stuff went through our mind, like, what was that? Now, I've seen and heard lots of explosions over the years. There was no resonance, so that rules out some of them. It was not electrical because they don't make white light. There's always color involved with electrical explosions. So we headed down to the lake to see if we could see anything, because we're like, how come there's no sirens? You would expect a lot of phone calls to be made and fire engines and stuff and police to be going around trying to figure out what that was. I'm thinking maybe at the party a propane tank went off or something, but there would have been a fireball from that, and it would have been like an orangey light, even if it was an empty propane tank that blew. Whatever it was, it had a lot of pressure in it. So when we got to the lake, I was like, that actually sounded like a meteor detonating in the atmosphere. Keep in mind, I've waited my entire life to see and hear one of those. I've always wanted that to happen, but I knew it would never happen. So it was wishful thinking, but that's what it sounded like. Dave was like, yeah, it couldn't have been that though, because we would have seen the meteor going through the sky, or we would have seen its trail afterwards or something. And I was like, yeah, that is a good point though. Burst my bubble. So that's what it sounded like. Now, we headed back to the campfire area, and at that point, there were cops there. It turns out there were hundreds of phone calls made. There were 3 different precincts driving around trying to figure out what this was, what happened. And I gave the cop, my report, or our report, and he took out his cell phone, and because I was like, I think it was from over here based on how long it took the sound to reach. And he pulled up satellite photos of the area. We kind of deducted that it might be within a certain area. So I get home, and by that point it's 1 in the morning, and looking at social media, it was exploding with stories. Again, no pun intended. Just people saying all sorts of stuff. Lots of theories. One of them was that one of the Air Force bases, I believe, was practicing as one of their noise days. But I'm telling you, it wasn't that. There was no resonating sound. They would have had to have been way off target and landed right next to us with some kind of ordnance. It did sound a little bit like a cannon. I've heard cannons go off before. No idea, right? As I said, lots and lots of stories, and I can't wait to find out what it was. I'm still rooting for a meteor because that's what they sound like. Who knows? I never thought I would ever see one of those. The odds of seeing one of those is unheard of. So I can't wait to see if they ever find out what this was. There were strange lights in the sky beforehand. It turned out to be a satellite thing. So of course a lot of people are saying that satellite crashed. No way did that satellite crash. It wouldn't have been like this anyways. So holy cow, what a night. Amazing, absolutely incredible, whatever it was. I'm glad that I had at least 2 of my friends with me to witness whatever this insanely loud thing was. Holy cow. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.